Hey, what's up YouTube? I'm the DIY guy. Today I'm going to be talking about how to tile with Mosaic hexagonal tiles. If you've used them before, they're these. They're a complete pain in the butt to work with, but they do look nice. So I'm just going to give you a couple tips, tricks when you are tiling these compared to just regular tile, which is pretty straightforward. So first thing that you're going to want to do, which I've already done, is you are going to want to dry fit, especially with this kind of tile. But if you look behind me, I've kind of set everything as it needs to be, which means you're going to have to cut these tiny little pieces to fit exactly where they need to go. So it's like you're playing Tetris, or you have a giant puzzle that you need to put together ahead of time, because you certainly don't want to be trying to do this while your mortar is set and drying. So let's take a look. So you can kind of see here, I have some individual tiles that I've actually set, and these are going to either need to just set down right here individually, or they're going to need to get snipped just a little bit with a snippers. So ultimately, you can kind of see I've set this one and I set this one ahead of time. I actually pre-cut a lot of these little half sizes, you know, just little guys to kind of stick over in the corner if I need them. It helps to have them already cut. You'll notice that I have some blue painter's tape in a couple sections. Those are individual tiles or mosaic tiles that actually chipped off, and I had to replace it with an individual one. And you're definitely going to want to know or mark which ones you need to go back and make sure you set them, because they're not a part of the whole piece. So make sure that you do that. You'll see that there's a lot of blue tape around the drain. That's because I had to really get in there, and you'll kind of see when I'm done. Maybe you can see underneath the blue tape, but there's a lot of little chunks that I had to cut with a grinder to get it to fit, and hopefully that turns out just fine. But anyway, let's mix the mortar and let's get going. A couple things that you might need or will need in the process is a sponge, a rubber mallet, a float. You're going to need a trowel for this. I'm using the 1/4 inch by 3/8 inch, and this one should be just fine. I like a putty knife to kind of clean things up. Same thing with basically a rubber, kind of like a rubber putty knife float thing. I don't even know what it's called. You're going to need a bucket or a couple buckets. I'm going to have one filled with mortar and one filled with water, and that's about it. Okay, so I mixed the mortar. It's outside right now, just curing, or just needs a little bit of time to mix, and then it'll be ready. But what I'm going to do is, since I have everything set, and specifically I have the drain set, I'm going to kind of work in sections. I'm going to take this section right here, and I'm going to set that, and then I'm going to do the next section and set that, and then everything will just kind of follow in order as long as I kind of keep some pattern going. So what I'm going to do is pull this off, slide it over here, pull this off, slide it over here. Same thing with this one.
Once you get started, you're going to want to apply your mortar to the section that you've cleared out. Here I'm applying it with the flat side of the trowel first, and then I will go back and set the grooves in the mortar so the tile will stick better. Working with this mosaic tile is a little bit different. You actually don't need a lot of mortar at all. In fact, I had too much laid down, and you can kind of see the white mortar starts to come through the mosaic tile, and this is actually more of a problem than I anticipated when I was doing this, or I would have taken some of the mortar off. It was a complete mess to clean up and to get that mortar out of the grooves of the tile, and by having it in the grooves of the tile, I didn't really have much choice other than to go through with a putty knife or basically a screwdriver and get it out of each of those tiles. It was a complete time sucker, and you can see the sponge doesn't even get it out of there. So be sure that you don't put too much down when you're doing this. You'll notice when I took this section off, and this is the drain section, I was very careful not to lose any pieces. But on this one I didn't put as much mortar down, and it worked a lot better in the end.
Just going to get mortar on it eventually.
Make sure you get mortar all the way up to the opening of the drain, and then make sure you back butter or apply some mortar to the bottom of the drain when you set it down. That's very important because you really need that to stick on and be completely watertight. Push it down the best you can, and if you need to use the rubber mallet to get it down a little bit further, make sure you do that. You definitely want to make sure the drain is lower than your tile. I had my wife help me with some of the meticulous tile pieces around the drain and back buttering those and putting them in.
It's prominent because it's red.
Everything looked really good in the end. When all was said and done, the only real issue I had was that first section. I just put too much mortar down, so make sure that you are cautious to how much you put down. But in the end, it looked great, it turned out awesome, and it works wonderful. And that is how you tile your shower with Mosaic tile. Thanks for watching. I'm the DIY guy. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.